welcome back to Limitless and Unfiltered. We have a topic for you today that is going to be a bit uncomfortable, but we both feel is completely necessary because it's driving under the influence. Okay, and I know this is going to be a heavy topic, but I think if you listen to this and you've ever been in this situation, maybe you can make better choices, or you know somebody that has been in this situation, and we're going to touch upon a couple of things that we feel are driving under the influence and a lot of people underplay because it's not just a cliche version of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all of those blurred lines, like all of the excuses that people come up with. I don't know how many times on the internet I've heard, "Oh, I just microdosed," or "It was only one drink," and that truly pisses me off because driving under the influence doesn't just mean that you're drunk out of your mind or that you're stumbling high. Okay, it means that your ability to react, your ability to think, to stay alert in a moment like driving and make decisions is altered by something. And it could be anything. So we want to touch upon that because I feel like a lot of people, again, there's blurred lines here. So let's really get into it and talk about some definitions of what that means, but also the reality of what those actions can imply. So, at the end of the day, I think it's just if your brain's not 100%, you shouldn't be behind the wheel, period.
So in the US alone, everyone, over 13,000 people die every year in crashes involving an impaired driver. And that's roughly one person every 39 minutes. So crazy because last night, my husband and I, we took the dog, we took our baby, and we were going to our friend's house for a birthday party. We literally pulled up into their driveway and got a call from my cousin who lives with us, and somebody had crashed into one of our cars that was parked on the street, and something told me move the car into the driveway. And I was like, we live on a double-ended dead-end street.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a super quiet street, lots of kids on the street. And so I'm like, oh, I'll just leave the car. I'll move it in later because we have a tandem driveway. So we needed to get the family car out. That's why the other car was left on the driveway. So she calls us and she's frantic and she's like, someone hit your car. And I'm thinking to myself, how on earth is someone hitting a parked car? Like,
Oh my
I'm
God.
like thinking to myself, she's like, and she's like, and he didn't just like hit it. Like, he hit it so hard, his airbags went off.
Oh my God.
And there was transmission fluid and like all of everything just went to shit.
So he literally smashed into her
Smashed into
vehicle.
the car, the back end of the car, like smashed into it. Like his impact was so hard, his car moved my car significantly and his airbags went off.
Oh my God.
All my lights were smashed. My car was just like totally indented, bumper off. So yeah, we go home and our street's just full. We've got like two fire trucks. We've got an ambulance. There's like 5 or 6 cop cars. And so anyways, this guy was just out to lunch.
Oh
He
my God.
was either as drunk as a skunk or on drugs. He could barely stand. He was so messed up that he literally physically moved his car, pushed it back, pushed
What?
it around our car, and probably about 20 feet in front of our car now. Then he tried to get in the car and drive away
Stop.
with when the ambulance and the fire trucks were there. The fire trucks literally had to block in our street from
So that
both
he
ends,
wouldn't leave.
so we wouldn't leave. Um,
Bro.
yeah, insane to the point where he got into his car and he started shuffling with things, and then he took off down the street
Like on foot?
on foot.
Oh my God. It's
Yeah,
like out of a movie.
on feet down the street. Anyways, when the cops got there, he was severely under the influence of heavy drugs. They found heroin in his car. They found
Nice.
pink cocaine. That's all the stuff he was trying to like gather and like
Mhm.
kind of get rid of. Yeah, so it was quite intense. Obviously disappointed that my car's like pretty much totaled.
Did you guys see him?
Yeah, I felt really bad for him in the sense of like, he just didn't look well.
Oh no.
Yeah, like
Oh
you
no.
could tell, like he was just really rough. And my heart went out to him because I just always think, I'm like, what? Why? Do you know what I mean? Like, especially
Yeah.
now having a little baby boy, I look at him and I'm like, how does it go from this to something like that,
Oh,
right? Like,
that's
it just
wild.
like it hurts my heart. Anyways, obviously, so disappointed that the car, but like, I think to myself, thank God it was the car, not a person, because
Yeah.
if he had turned onto a main street,
Oh my goodness.
what could have happened, right? So,
And this was like broad daylight.
oh, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
My God.
And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you doing at freaking 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon? And
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
But it's like, why do people think that they are okay to get behind the wheel, even if it's just down the street? Because
Yeah.
apparently he doesn't live very far from here.
Oh no.
So for me, it's like, what makes you think that you can get into your car under the influence, severely under the influence, that you can literally total your car and total another car on a street that you should be going 30 on?
Oh my God.
I've never in my life seen anything like that.
Hmm.
It was pretty traumatic in the sense of like, thinking of, yeah, it was pretty bad, but it could have
Hmm.
been a hell of a lot worse. And even the cop said, she was like, the sad thing is, she goes, we see this more than you think.
Okay, that's awful.
You know, it's sad and it's scary because, just somebody of innocence, just wrong place at the wrong time. And
Hmm.
this is why, like, I feel like people, people are just not in the right frame of mind, but also it's like it's a selfish act.
Yeah, truly.
Like you're putting others, innocent people, at risk because of, you thinking you're okay to get in the car.
Yeah.
Like, listen, sometimes people are under the influence severely because they're going through their own hardships. But why get in your car?
Yeah.
Why
So
put someone else at risk?
So what's your take on that? Like, I know that you just said like, you felt for him because now you have a son and like, you wonder like like you said, what took you from innocent baby and growing up and all that to making a decision so poor, which is
Yeah.
driving under the influence. But what's your tolerance for that?
I have zero tolerance for it because
Yeah.
for me it's selfish. It's carelessness. It's you don't care about anybody else but yourself. The fact that you're getting in that car when you shouldn't be and potentially causing severe harm to another human being.
Yeah. Same with me. I have zero, like negative 10
Negative
tolerance.
10.
Negative 10 tolerance for someone who makes the decision, makes that choice of getting into a vehicle when they are under the influence. Like zero tolerance for that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, no.
um yeah, I hope that he never is able to drive again. The crazy thing is, Maria, is that like I get really worried about our like system here in
Mm-hmm.
Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to think, I'm like, okay, so he did this. They're going to take his car's done, totaled, and they're probably going to let him out.
Yep. That's a whole
And
other topic, Jenny.
no, I know, but then I think I'm like, what is it going to take for
Mm.
our system
To wake up.
to do something? So how many times is he going to be able to do this until he kills somebody?
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah, then he'll probably still get out anyways.
But that just shows that they don't care about the people.
I know this is a we can go
Yeah.
down dark rabbit holes there.
Anyways,
Yeah, it's wild because I think when we talk about driving under the influence, right? Everybody, oh, DUIs, like all the things. Like people need to understand that driving under the influence doesn't just refer to alcohol. Okay?
hmm,
In Jenny's case of what she just mentioned, it wasn't alcohol,
nope.
right? It was drugs, right? So when we think of driving under the influence, it truly includes any substance that impairs your ability to drive. It's really that simple. I don't understand how people to this day don't get that. It's not just alcohol. It could be alcohol, it could be cannabis, and this includes edible cannabis. Like, people think that edible cannabis doesn't have the ability to impair your driving. Yes, it does. But it also
Very
includes,
much so.
yeah, like, hello. But it also includes prescription medications, right? Like benzos, we know benzodiazepines, opioids, like even sleep aids. And you and I were just talking about this before we even hit record. But even sleep aids like high dose melatonin can impair your driving.
Yeah, you should
And
not be
like,
behind the wheel.
no, and they say that. Like, the bottles say that. So if like we understood that driving under the influence is actually not just hardcore substances, illegal drugs, alcohol, we would be able to, well, hopefully, as a collective, we would be able to make better decisions,
Absolutely.
right? Because honestly, even legal drugs can be illegal to drive with because they impair your system.
100%.
Like it's wild to me the amount of people that are so unconscious about this decision to get behind the wheel. It's
Yeah.
gross. It grosses me out.
Well, I feel like we also live in a society where like people don't think they're wrong and they think that they're
Hmm.
always right. And everyone has their opinions, right?
Hmm.
And
Mm.
going
Yeah.
ahead with opinions, freedom of speech and, all those things that come into the mix.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. And like, I know, I'm not sure like legalities of like province to province because we're in Canada, but or state to state or whatever it is. But I do know that in like lots of jurisdictions around our country, we'll talk about Canada, even having a small trace of THC in your blood system, that can result in criminal charges. Like, regardless of whether you feel high or not.
mhm.
And so for people to think that, like, here's the thing. I think the problem is that people minimize what impairment looks like. Because I've heard and I've seen, I'm going to call out mom talk here. Okay. There's a lot of mom talk, which is moms on TikTok stating, yeah, mom talk, stating that they can microdose or be, they can, I feel fine. So I can just take care of my kid. And they're drinking drinks with THC.
But why even take that risk?
I don't know, dude, but the whole premise around what I've seen on Mom Talk is like, oh, it makes me a better mom because I can be more calm and more, I can handle things, more calmly. And I'm thinking to myself,
Drink a chamomile tea. That's what I'm thinking.
right, like, I don't know, do some breath work. Do some breath work, exercise, but like to put a substance in your body that has the potential to affect the way that you think, the way that you react. Like, what are you thinking? Like, driving aside, this is now, we're kind of veering a little bit here. Driving aside, how you as a parent is gonna think, oh, but I just feel fine. So I'm gonna,
Yes.
you can feel fine, my friend. You can feel great. But if there is something in your physical system that is altering and has the ability to alter the way that you react to something, you are not going to react to an emergency that your child has if you're under the influence. That's another non-tolerance for me. But, let's go back to drinking and driving and driving under the influence. It
So,
bothers. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say because you have like a story that like
Yeah.
really hits close to home, right, Maria?
Yeah, yeah, which is where I was going. Like, it really bothers me when people have this kind of like soft tolerance to driving under the influence because we were highly affected by, I've been affected twice by people driving under the influence. One, when I was in high school and, this was in a different country where drinking and driving is just a normal thing of life and it's considered cool, air quotes.
Ugh,
And yeah, it's ridiculous. And, a friend was murdered. And I
ugh.
say murder, and I don't like to, I don't minimize that. No, they were murdered. They were murdered because somebody decided that they were feeling all right and that they could handle a vehicle and they impacted somebody else's life. And the problem is that you're not just killing someone, you are literally destroying the lives of that entire family. They will
100%.
never be the same, ever.
Never.
And so that was one of like the first, and I was in my teens. I remember, I don't think I was even driving at the time. And I remember thinking like, how does anybody do that? Like just consciously as a conscious human being, I'm like, how does anyone do that? And then years later, early 20s, one of my mom's best friends called frantic and she was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And this was in, I forgot what state it was. Anyways, it was in the States. And her niece and her husband had gone to like a New Year's Eve party,
Hmm.
and her husband was like a musician, so he was playing somewhere and he left, and so she was left kind of at this party with her family, and she was like, I don't want to spend New Year's Eve like without my husband, so I'm gonna go and meet with him. So
Oh
she
God.
did. She met with him, and like they spent New Year's, boom, Happy New Year, blah blah blah. When they were on their way home, he was like, just leave the car here because it's we'll just leave one car. They put all the instruments inside of his truck, and he's like, let's just go home and like, go home. And they were in the truck, all the instruments in the back, and they were coming up kind of like a highway, but it was like almost like the Skyway Bridge where you can't really see the other side.
Hmm.
Except this highway, didn't really like it had a barrier, but there was an on ramp on the opposite end of the hill, and
Okay.
somebody drunk driving came up in the wrong direction, and they literally collided head on at the top of that bridge. And when they collided head on, she was asleep. They say that she was asleep. Just from the position they found them in. The impact was so strong because the drunk driver was coming so fast up that hill that their bodies were unrecognizable. All of the instruments pushed to the front of the vehicle, and like just a disaster, like a disaster. They had to shut down this bridge for like a week and a half, investigations, like an entire family completely destroyed over one person's stupid decision of getting behind the wheel.
Now my question for you was did the drunk driver survive?
Yes, both killed. Husband and wife were both
Yeah.
killed, and the drunk driver survived. And I'm like, this is where, I'm very spiritual, and like
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, so they say
How?
that the drunk driver, like the individual under the influence survives because their body is so intoxicated. But it's like literally most of the time, like the drunk driver survives. And I'm like, but how? Like, why?
Yeah, I
You know what
know.
I
I said
mean?
the same
Like,
thing.
is it because, the man upstairs decides, you're gonna live with this for the rest of your life?
I mean, that is a good way of putting that. I don't know if I've ever
Like,
thought of it that way. That is
yeah.
maybe.
I'm
It's
a
your karma.
very spiritual person when it comes to that. I believe in
Yeah.
karma. I believe
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
it
Oh,
all.
same.
But
Same. I had never thought of that, and I thank you for that because it has been something that forever I'm like, how is that even fair? Like,
it's not fair. It's not.
yeah. And the thing is, you don't like people need to understand you don't need to feel like you're out of control to be a danger on the road.
Yeah.
Because this obviously the situation with what I just mentioned, yeah, he was out of control. He was off the charts drunk, but there have been situations where your slowed reaction time impairs that judgment. So it's not like let's not stop underplaying it. Like stop
Yeah.
underplaying being under the influence. It drives me nuts.
It's just not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Prevention is simple.
Yeah.
Well, just don't get in the car. Yeah, I think for like prevention is simple.
Hmm.
I'm the type of person, Maria, where like in any type of situation, I put myself down mentally down two roads. If I go down this road, what could possibly happen? If I go
Hmm.
down this road, what could possibly happen? I literally stop in my tracks for a second. I'm like, okay, let me think about this. And I go down the path that's the most reasonable, thought
Hmm.
out, path.
Hmm.
I know for a fact that some people get into the car thinking, I'm just a 5 minute drive.
Yeah, I've heard that. Oof.
You're a 5 minute drive. But if you were, I don't know about you, Maria, if you've ever been like super loaded, drunk, I have. There is no fucking way I could get behind the wheel and be able to drive in a straight line.
Hmm. You can barely walk, for
Yeah,
God's sake.
like what makes you think you can handle a motorized vehicle? So for me, it's like, it's simple. Just don't do it. Pay for that Uber.
Truly,
You know what I mean?
truly.
Stay at the friend's house. I don't even know why people allow people to get into their cars and drive away. There is no way
Yeah,
I
no.
would allow somebody I care about or somebody I know to get in a car and risk their life along with many others.
Yeah, no, me neither.
That to me is stupidity at its finest.
Yeah. And to some point, liable. Like, you're
You
liable.
are. Yeah, if that person is leaving your house intoxicated on whatever, you are liable if anything happens to them and somebody else.
Yeah, 100%.
So why even go through that and have that risk? Like it's
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah. And like you said, there's Uber and how many other apps can you use to like get your drive home, you know?
It's
Like
very
I'm just
simple.
it truly is. Have you heard of microdosing? I know we kind of touched upon it at the beginning, but like have you heard of that term?
Yeah, I've heard of the term. I don't really believe in the term microdosing. It's either you dose or you don't dose.
Yeah, amen.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's either you're doing the drugs or you're not doing the drugs. There's
Yeah.
no microdosing.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that microdosing has become so popular on the internet, which is it's wild to
the
me.
internet is a crazy place.
It is wild. Yeah, I think when people start to deny, like when they're in a phase of denial, that's when it gets dangerous because they think that microdosing, and I'm air quoting here, microdosing, they can still have control.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but there are like this is a fact here. There are studies that have shown that even low blood alcohol levels, like what is it? I don't remember, 0.02 or something.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, even that low of amount can impact visual function and reaction time. And it's no different from THC. THC, even in micro amounts, can impair your cognitive function. It makes you process things slower, right? There's delayed muscle coordination. Like,
Yep.
friends, microdosing, like Jenny said, is it. I don't believe in that either. You either do it or you don't do it, and you're either under the influence or you're not under the influence. There is, to me, no gray line there. Okay, like no,
No, absolutely not.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like drunk driving, under the influence of drugs, whatever it is, I don't believe in it. And I'm going to bring this back. I don't believe in taking care of your children while you are under the influence of a substance, whether that is a legal substance, alcohol, or THC. Like, absolute, no, zero respect.
Yeah. I don't agree with it. I don't understand or if it works, but I don't understand why you would want to be caring for your children while you are under the influence of recreational drugs.
Dude, I mean, I don't understand. Do you want to leave that out? Because I'll say it and I won't leave it out.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think that there's other avenues that can be looked into when, parents are going through hardships emotionally, mentally, and trying to care for their children. Like firsthand, like hello, like I suffered severely with the postpartum anxiety, right? And like
Yeah.
for me, I wasn't resulting in drugs per se or alcohol, but like I went to
Yeah.
my doctor. I went to go talk to them to inform them of how I was feeling. What can I do to help myself so that I am a better person, but I'm also a better parent, right?
100%.
You always have a choice. You
Thank you.
always have a choice, if that be to get in the car, to not get in the car, to take the drugs, to not take the drugs, to have that one drink and get into a car. Like you always have a choice. As a
Yes.
human being, you have a choice and it's what you decide to do with it, right? And obviously being responsible and thinking outside of the box in the moment is what people should be doing. But when they don't, it results in really devastating situations.
Yeah, it really is. Like you mentioned such a highlight there, like it's all a choice. And I know that maybe that is going to come across to some people like, well, if you're suffering through mental health issues and like, going through life and hardships, then sometimes, you don't know what you're doing. Well, how do I say this nicely without, hurting people's feelings? It's still a choice. It is still a choice because everyone in this life has battles that they are going through.
Yeah, and everyone's extremes are different, right? And your battles, Maria, may seem way worse than mine, and mine may seem way worse than yours. Everyone has their own outlook on how their hardships, right?
Yep.
Everyone is different, and everybody has their difficulties, right? Some
Hmm.
more than others, and some people just handle it a little bit better.
Correct.
I'm not trying to take that away from anybody, but at the end of the day, yes, Maria, you have a choice. You have a choice to make proper decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you are in that state of mind of like, well, that's not fair to say that because some people are going through mental health issues. Again, the choice of when you're going through tough battles like that is to seek help before you make a decision that could end someone else's. Or even, let's not even talk about end someone else's life. You could severely ruin their life. You know what I mean? Like you can hurt someone so badly by getting into the vehicle that maybe you didn't kill them, but now you've changed their entire life. Maybe they can no longer walk. Maybe, they've got a
I
brain
know
injury.
somebody, I have a friend,
That this happened to?
when she was young.
So do you see what I mean? Like how
And
people, this
she
is
was
why I have zero
young.
tolerance.
Yeah, and it was a drunk driver, and she's a beautiful person, and she hasn't been able to walk since she was a little girl, and she's now in her 30s.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's in a wheelchair. She's, like I said, a beautiful person, but like I just, the innocence of someone's life being somewhat taken from her, in the sense of like,
Yeah.
she lives she lives a great life, but
She would have been able to walk had there not been this choice
yeah.
that was made by someone.
And it's just so like heartbreaking because it's just not fair.
Exactly. Now, I want to talk before we close about
Mhm.
one more thing,
Sure.
and I want your opinion on this too.
Sure.
So we've talked about driving under the influence of alcohol, substance. And by the way, I know we didn't touch upon like medication, like prescription medication, which is not an illegal substance. It's illegal, so
Yes.
legally, but it can impair you as well. We know I mean, how many times have you experienced where I don't know, you get a medication, it's like do not drive heavy machinery or do not drive this. Like the labels are there for a reason. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe read, I don't know. Right? But we all know about that. We all know about the medication that comes with these warning signs of like, please do not operate heavy machinery with it. How many times have we seen that? Right? So
All the time.
we have that. And we've talked about, weed, THC, all the things. What about people's choices to drive, and I have a story on this, when they are extremely sleep deprived?
Oh God, don't do it. Okay, so Maria, gosh, I remember this. And don't do it. I did it once, and it was in dental hygiene. I was with Fiona. We
No.
were driving to, it was late at night. I don't even know where we were driving from. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we were driving to Mississauga. And if Fiona's listening, she might remember this. But literally, I fell asleep at the wheel. Like, I'm not
No.
joking. I fell asleep at the wheel to the point where, like, the
Jenny.
car jerked. I'm telling you, my God, that was
Yeah.
probably one of the most scariest moments. I remember it so well. And it was in the winter. And
No.
yeah, it was on the highway. It was on the 403. We were just passing Winston Churchill on the 403. And yeah, I jerked the car, and even Fiona was like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I fell asleep. And the only thing that got us to our destination was the fact that, because it scared the living daylights out of me to know that
Yeah.
I had literally just fell asleep at the wheel. I
Hmm.
was like, adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's sitting and listening right now, but when you're like watching something, you're trying so hard to stay awake to watch it, and you
Hmm.
like fall asleep, and then you're like, oh, gotta stay up. That is exactly the feeling. Like, I literally fell asleep for a few seconds,
Oh my God.
and I've never ever driven tired again. But that was a very scary moment. So, yes, driving, being exhausted, no,
Yeah.
don't do it. Like, I get worried about these truck drivers,
I
especially at night.
know.
Oh
Oh,
my
jeez.
God. Like,
Yeah. And obviously we talk about moms all the time on this podcast. And so sleep deprivation is a very
oh, yes.
normal, let's call it normal thing as a new mom, as a new dad. And yeah, you can be severely sleep deprived and still want to make your appointments with your child, like their doctor's appointment and all that. And I'll be honest, I have not really experienced this sleep deprivation because there were two incidences where I guess I was feeling a little bit like, oh, maybe I don't feel well enough to continue driving. And I have pulled over and taken a nap.
Good for you.
I will get off the highway. I will find a parking lot, lock my car, and like twice I've done that. And it obviously comes with self-awareness and all that, and try not to push through. Maybe through experience, maybe through like what I've seen around me, but I've just like that's never been a thing for me.
Yeah.
But what I know is it feels horrendous to be sleep deprived and to hit that point where you're like, oh my, I can't even keep my eyes open, right?
Yes.
So I want to give you guys listening a few like stats on drowsy driving because
Drowsy driving.
drowsy driving,
DD. Another
K,
DD.
drowsy driving, aka sleep deprivation. Okay, over 100,000 crashes and over 6,000 deaths happen because of sleep deprivation and driving in the US. And we're going to bring some US stats, and I'm sure Canada is not far behind. But that is mental to me. It's mental. And the reason that sleep deprivation is such a thing, apart from lifestyle, but it literally is the silent impairment behind the wheel. It is the same as you being under the influence of like a drug or alcohol because it still at the same time affects your reaction time, your
Yeah.
awareness, right?
Yeah.
Because you imagine starting to doze off while you're at the wheel and like you've experienced this, right? Your decision making process at the time, that's not there.
No.
Like
No.
it's not there. Motor control is not there, and all of those things are crucial to be able to drive safe. So, I know we talked about all of it, but I wanted to leave that for the end because we are talking to moms on mostly on this podcast, and like just know that if you can't make an appointment with your child because you haven't slept all night, like just stay home, reschedule that appointment, or ask for help from someone. Like don't take your child in a car and then go to your appointment being that sleep deprived because it could end in tragedy. And I know it's kind of heavy, but like it doesn't take an impairment of a substance to make you be a danger at the wheel.
Totally. I always just say to myself, I'm like, is it worth it?
Right?
That's always my question to myself when I'm in a situation. Is it worth it? No,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
no, it
not.
isn't. Yeah. And I know we live in like this just push through it kind of like culture. I think especially for parents and I know maybe you felt that too and I've definitely felt that throughout my parenting journey where it's like I think moms carry this like ridiculous badge of honor of like, I'm so tired, but I
Totally.
can do everything. Like,
Where
what?
I'm like, it's okay if you can't. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm
Yeah,
the first to say it.
exactly. So obviously, Jenny has hit so many good points of like, it's a choice. And I think at the end of the day, the decision to drive, whether under the influence of some sort of substance or sleep deprivation, is still your choice. So we're going to encourage you to make the correct choice on this one and don't put your safety or somebody else's in your hands because you want to just either push through or you think that, oh, I still feel fine. Because at the end of the day, you can kill someone or you can really damage their life. And it's the impact and the ripple effect of the hurt that you can cause on so many other people's lives, friends, family, extended family. It's not just one person you're affecting, aka yourself,
Yeah.
but it's so many other people. Yeah.
So
So, anyways,
just think before you act. Just know that it's just not worth it.
yeah.
The
And I
risk
know
is not worth it.
it really isn't. And I know sometimes we feel, because you can relate this to other situations in your life, and we can often like tell ourselves like, oh, but it won't happen to me, or like, oh, I've done this before and it was fine, right? But it's
Hmm.
just like, and you said something so important at the beginning of this, where it was like, even if you live 5 minutes away, because in your head, maybe you're not thinking, oh, I only live 5 minutes away. In your head, you might be thinking, oh, it's just a short drive, like I can stay awake, or I
Totally.
can, but like, click, and everything changes.
Yep.
Oh,
Just like that.
yeah,
Flash. Just like a
yeah,
flash.
that's it. So, anyways, we want to encourage you to make the right choices, friends. I know this was a heavy topic, but I think one that's super important, and bringing light to that, and hopefully shedding some information for you to take, and maybe somebody who's done this, and maybe you can try and sway them to not, because Jenny's had experiences, I've had experiences, and the more you talk about it, I think a lot of people don't like to talk about this topic because they get emotional about it in terms of like, oh no, well, it's only a little bit of XYZ. But
Yeah.
if you really start asking people, I'm shocked at the amount of people that have an experience with some sort of impaired driving and how it affect their life. So don't
Yeah.
do it.
Nope. And just be an advocate for yourself and other people around you.
Yeah, that's it. All
All right.
right. All right, friends. So I hope you have a great time today,
You too.
tomorrow. Have a good one.